Just the whisper of the night air, pointing lenses at a million glares, catching starlight from a time ago, watching that cosmic river flow in the stillness of this perfect frame.
Well, welcome back to the channel. I figured this time we'd give a little attempt at processing the data for an image I took of the Horsehead Nebula, actually the Horsehead and Flame Nebula. To do that, we will be using exclusively the software Siril version 1.42, and just wanted to demonstrate a few different methods of processing an image, from the fastest to a more detailed one. So what we want to do is get started by opening a file that's already been stacked in Siril that I took of the region of the Horsehead and Flame Nebula using my SVBONY SV555 quintuplet refractor, which is a very nice piece of equipment. In fact, I'll leave a link in the description below for those who may be actually interested in purchasing it, because it is a very good instrument. So to start with, we have the image here, and all we can basically see is just some stars. But if we use the auto stretch function, we can kind of get a better idea of some of the underlying data once it's actually processed out. But I feel like we can definitely do better than what we have here. So to start with, let's go back to the linear format, and my workflow generally starts with obtaining an astrometric solution by plate solving the image. And for that, go back a little bit. You go back to Tools, Astrometry, Image Plate Solver, and if you've used software like Nina or even the ZWO ASI Air software, it should automatically embed the coordinates of the object, so that all you have to do is make sure you have the correct focal length of your telescope and the pixel size of your camera, and just click OK, and that'll plate solve the image. Next, let's see, let me put it back to auto stretch just so we have an idea of what we're working with. Next, I generally will go into Python scripts, processing, and choose the Grexpert script, which will take care of any gradients that you have in the picture. Gradients that may result from light from, let's say, a local city that may have bright lights, even a street light or yard lights that may introduce some stray light and produce uneven illumination across the image. Now in Grexpert, I just choose what is the latest model, and I generally go with the defaults, which is at 50%, and click apply. Takes a few seconds and the process is done. Now, granted, this didn't have much of a gradient to start with, so there wouldn't be a great deal of change. Also, if you have any artifacts from stacking around the edge, you can always crop the image in a little and remove some of the problematic areas, even though I think this is in pretty good shape, but I'll just show you anyway. You right click, choose crop, and then crop again, and takes out the edges there. Now from there, sometimes what I do is I remove the stars and then process it further. But in this case, we're trying to show the quickest way to get it done. So let's see, we'll go back to the linear view, which is the actual state that the image is in. If you were to print out this image, this is what you get. But in this case, we're going to go processing, stretches, histogram transformation. And of the options here, you have one that will provide an auto stretch as opposed to the auto stretch down here, which is a temporary one that actually doesn't affect the data. This one, if you click it, it actually does stretch it, and the auto stretch in this case I generally find to be a little more aggressive than I would prefer, but nonetheless, if we just wanted to create a picture, we could just click apply and close, and we have a stretched image here. From there we can do a little enhancement to it. If we go back to scripts, Python scripts, processing, and in this case choose Cosmic Clarity. That's part of the SETI Astro Suite Pro, where it has some really effective tools for processing your astrophotography. In this case, it's focusing on the Cosmic Clarity portion of those tools, which includes sharpening, denoising, some other tools as well. But in general, in my workflow, I focus on just using the sharpening and denoising, and they are great tools developed by Frank Merrick of the SETI Astro YouTube channel. And if you get a chance, check out his videos. It's a lot of good information. So to start with, I choose sharpening, and in this case the non-stellar portion, which is what I'm focusing on. I have up to 85% and the stellar around 20%. So I'll just click run. And the nice thing is, if you have any kind of decent graphics card in your computer, this will utilize that and process it very quickly. In fact, you see it's only taking really a few seconds to run through this. And we're done with the sharpening, and now we go to the denoising, and I'll move in a little closer so you can kind of get a feel for actually what's happening, or rather the results of the denoising, because it's kind of staticky here. So if you click run, and again, this won't take much time as well, so we're going through it, and it'll just take a few seconds. And again, I'll say again, Frank Merrick, he did a great job with these tools, and he makes them available for free to folks, which makes it even better. Okay, we're coming up now. We focus on, let's say, around the Horsehead, and we're coming up on around 90%. You see the difference when the noise is removed, and there you go. And I'll close this out and go back a little, and this is pretty nice. And once we have it at this point, we can just click this icon here, which is to save, and you can choose to give it a different name and a different file format. And let's say we wanted to post it to folks on Facebook or Instagram. You can choose JPEG, and I'll just give it a name, or Horsehead, Horsehead1.jpg, and it's done. Now, let me reopen the file again so we can try a different method. Okay, and again, we go through a few of the same processes: the plate solving, the astrometric solution, Graxper to remove any gradients, and then at this point we'd invoke a different script. Go to Python scripts and Verilux. And Verilux, they created several different scripts to perform functions here. A lot of them are really nice. One that people really are excited about is the Verilux hypermetric stretch, and we choose it here. And again, it basically becomes a one button, for the most part, a one button stretch of your data. So when that comes up, we'll move it over here, and it allows you to have a preview window of what the data may look like, and that's it here. Now also there's a function to perform an auto calculation where it'll determine what it believes to be the best possible stretch, getting the most out of the underlying data there, in terms of the brightness, the contrast, and the color as well. Now, I personally find it to be a little aggressive when it comes to the color, but that's something you can also adjust for your personal taste. Now, let's see, if I click auto calculate, and you see how it would potentially stretch it. To me, this is not quite what personally works with my aesthetic of what I'd like for this to look like. So this button here for the color strategy, you can always move it down a little if I can get a hold of it. Okay, it's just moving a little slowly for me, but it's moving. Okay, and it would tend to adjust the color here. Now that's a little less than what I want, so I'll bump it up a little. And at least with my PC, it takes a few seconds for it to be reflected in the results. And all you'd have to do at that point is just click process, and it'll stretch out the data so that it's no longer in a linear format, but is actually in a non-linear stretch format. And from there, we can go back to our tools again. In SETI Astro, Cosmic Clarity Native, and we can run a sharpening and a denoising procedure on it. I'll just come in a little closer. We'll run the sharpening again. And I feel like these are essentials to the process. You always want to provide some sharpening as well as some measure of denoising in order to have a quality product in the end. And, okay, we're done with the sharpening. Now run the denoising, and that'll take a few seconds as well. Now, there are other products that you can use for sharpening and denoising, but to me, for free products, the SETI Astro products are the best. You know, you can always get Blur Exterminator and Noise Exterminator, but those will cost you. They are great products, but they're not free, and they don't work with Siril. You'd have to use them with something like Photoshop, or more likely PixInsight, which in itself is not free. I think is $500 or $600, something like that. Not criticizing the product, it's a good product, but it's still money. So, okay, we've run the sharpening and denoising, and I feel like that looks pretty good. So again, we can just click the icon to save it, and we'll save it as, again, a JPEG, and we'll call it Horsehead 2. And we'll save that. And now we'll try again with the manual process that I tend to use. So again, pull up your stretched file, go through your astrometric solution, plate solving, go through your gradient correction with Grexpert, or if you don't want to use Grexpert, there's always the Auto BGE, Auto Background Extraction, which is another script that was developed by Frank Merrick at SETI Astro. You can use one or the other. It's just I tend to prefer to use Grexpert, but there are instances where I feel like the Auto BGE may give me a better result. So you have to kind of gauge that for yourself. Now also, let's see, we're all done our astrometric solution. We've taken care of our gradient. So now we go into a manual stretch. We go into image processing, stretches, this time general hyperbolic stretch transformations, or GHS for short. So bring up this menu that gives us a few options. I tend to always lower the highlight protection so that portions of the image that are naturally bright, it doesn't blow them out right away. It gives a more subtle increase to the brightness. And for the first couple iterations, I'll increase the local stretch intensity, and then the thing that actually stretches it is your stretch factor. You just slide this across and you begin to see the image brightening up. Now you don't want to necessarily try and get it all in one shot because it's not going to be the best possible image. So I generally take it to about this point and then apply it. And because we have all this blank space here, I change the type of stretch to a linear stretch where we move the black point back down, which essentially clears that area where there's just dead black data, and then click apply, and then rinse and repeat. Lower the highlight protection. You can bump up the local stretch a little bit, and then bring it across again. Again, not trying to push it so hard right away. Now I'll apply it, then go back to adjust the black point again and lower that down. Just keeping in mind this little gauge here of the percentage that you're clipping. Preferably you want it to stay at 0, but 0.001 is not so bad. So I'll leave it at that and apply it. And again, you can already see the image taking form here. Now we can go back up to the generalized hyperbolic stretch transformation again. I'll lower the highlight protection and I'll stretch it forward again, bringing out more of the image. And what I'll do at this point is now I'll start to adjust the symmetry point. And as I bring it over, you'll notice the histogram here starts to move back towards the left, and the image starts to darken. But we keep our brightening of the image, but at the same time we're kind of balancing out the contrast a little more. Now click apply. And it's usually around this point that I'll begin to get ready to perform my sharpening and denoising. But in this case, I think I want to try one more stretch. So I'll lower the highlight protection point, raise up the stretch factor, just not quite as much. And then I'll adjust the symmetry points to where the contrast looks good to me. And let's see. And then I'll click apply. Okay, we've got that, which doesn't look bad, but it's not quite where I want it to be. But at this point, want to sort of say, wring the extra water out of this rag, so to speak. So what I'll do is go back to our utility scripts, processing, cosmic clarity. I'll go a little closer here. And at this point, where's the cosmic clarity? Okay, there it is. I will do sharpening again. I'll run it. And we'll start processing. And a few more seconds here. Okay, that's sharpened, and you can notice a difference in the Flame Nebula here. Brought out a little more contrast. Now we go to denoising and keeping the strength at around 80%. Click OK, or click Run rather. And it's cooking through. And again, we'll see a definite difference. The image will become darker. The contrast will be more pronounced. And then we can tease out a little more detail once it's actually done. So we're at 85, 90, 95, and denoised. And that looks a whole lot better. But at the same time, it's a bit dark, and that allows us the opportunity to stretch it a little more. Now we see there's empty space there where we can adjust our black point to bring it back down. And again, the image is darker. Some people may think this is good enough as it is, but we want to try and get a little better, because ideally I want to kind of bring out some of the dust and clouds around this area a little more. So, excuse me, I will lower the highlight protection point, which is what I find to be most effective with trying to bring out subtle dust in an image. So lower that, and now we'll try stretching again. Let's see, yeah, and that's definitely bringing out some more of the dust. Yeah, you can definitely see it more. And now I'll adjust the symmetry point to taste, so to speak, and click apply, and I'll adjust the black point one more time, bring it in a little more, and maybe one more stretch here. See how much more we can bring the clouds out in this without blowing everything out. Now granted, personally I feel like the stars are at their absolute max, or actually a little far past the max of what I prefer, but that invokes another method for processing the images, one where you remove the stars, basically separate the image out from its original to a image of just the stars, and then a starless image, and then you work on them separately. But in this case, we're just working with it all intact. So I will adjust the symmetry point again, and I don't think I'll take it any further than that. I'll click apply. And the only thing left in this case to do is to maybe work with the color saturation. Now, I tend to be kind of a minimalist when it comes to color saturation, but it can enhance an image. So we take you through the steps, went through image processing, color saturation, and just slide the global bar over, and we notice an increase in color, which doesn't look bad. I personally would not want to go beyond this. In fact, I'm going to back that off a little. This is just my personal taste. Let's go back to saturation again. And instead of a global one, maybe we can make it more of a targeted one with the orange, brown, and yellow to see if maybe we can bring a little bit of saturation out in the Flame Nebula. Let's see. Not seeing much, but let's see. Let's reset that. Yeah, I'll try it again. Orange, brown, yellow. Yank it all the way over. Apply. And we'll just go with that. And at this point, we can hit the icon again to save. We'll choose to save it as JPEG. I'll call it JPEG 3. And click save. And what I'll do is I'll try and make a comparison of the 3 files here. And click OK. And it should come up here. So in this case we have Horsehead 1, which is not bad. Horsehead 2, which gives us a little deeper, maybe a little more rich view of it. And Horsehead 3, oh, that's actually kind of intense. I guess maybe I personally wouldn't choose that one, but nonetheless, this is just a demo. I processed this before and I feel like I got a better result than what I have here tonight, but nonetheless, this is just a demonstration for a possible way of processing it. In fact, I feel like between the first one and this one, it has a little more detail in the Flame Nebula. Perhaps, let's see, as opposed to the third one. Yeah, the third one doesn't quite do it for me, but I kind of like the Flame Nebula in this one. But, you know, that, again, that was just one possible example of how we can do things with just Siril and free tools, so that we can reveal the deep space fire and fury of the Horsehead and the Flame Nebula. Now, again, if you've made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you sticking with me. And again, this was captured using my SVBONY SV555 telescope. And as I said before, if you're interested in it, there will be a link in the description for this video. And also, if you are actually interested in it, I will include my discount coupon code of ED10, which will get you, I believe, 10% off your purchase, which can only help. So again, I thank you for watching the video, and I hope to be back soon with a new one. And again, my name is Ed. Thanks so much for watching, and take care.